Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson and Danny Hernandez. Not a whole lot of huge news this week, especially considering the last few weeks with the scandals and whatnot. But we do start this week with something a little more heavy and difficult to talk about, and that is the recent online abuse that Shotzi Blackheart has been receiving following the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Now, for those of you who didn't see the pay-per-view, the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was reportedly a bit off, for lack of a better phrase. There were apparent botches by many of the participants in the match. And from all reports, Shotzi had a pretty rough night. She admitted as such, but there was an extreme amount of hate and vitriol sent her way online, especially on Twitter, in the days following that match, to the point where she eventually ended up deleting her Twitter. Now, she did come out later on Instagram saying that she wasn't necessarily bullied off of Twitter, but rather that she has been having some personal things going on in her life, and she decided that she didn't want to read any of these negative comments coming her way and bring her into a worse mental state. So, Danny, I'll start with you here. I think it's fairly obvious to almost anybody who is online in wrestling circles that the anonymous nature of the internet and just the amount of shit that happens on there has led to this becoming more of a prevalent thing, where just there's so much bullying and just shit throwing and name calling that goes on and is directed towards these wrestlers that I'm not surprised that this eventually happens to a more high profile wrestler where they just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Okay. How do I want to approach this? Well, Shotzi, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. She got out of the kitchen. And you know what? I never liked that idiom or saying or whatever you want to call it, because then you'll starve, right? How are you going to make food? Like, come on, you got to get in the kitchen. Anyway, that being said, she took it in jest. She said herself, I can't wait to see this on Botchamania. She was lighthearted about it. But when it's like constant, never ending, and it's, again, like you said, just anonymous faces saying shit they would never say to your face, you get sick of it. And Shotzi's had a rough year. She lost her dad like 2 months ago. Like, that's still a fresh wound. So yeah, she's in no position to deal with that kind of shit, and she's in no position to deal with it. Yeah, she had a rough night. Cool. It happens. It happens to everyone. It happened to multiple people in this match. Raquel had a rough night. Becky missed a spot. Alexa Bliss was there. Hell, Liv hitting her final spot of the match didn't even come close to making contact with Becky. But it's okay, because you know what? You know who didn't care? The live crowd there. You know who didn't mind? The live crowd there. You know who gave this his awesome chance to that match? The live crowd there. Because you know what? This match didn't look? It didn't look choreographed. You know what match didn't have botches on this show? The SmackDown Women's title match between Ronda Rousey and Natalya. And you know what match sucked more than this ladder match? That match. Because it felt rehearsed. You could feel like it was two people memorizing spots that they pre-planned, as opposed to professionals who just go out there and call it on the fly, or have an idea, but, everything isn't to a fucking T. So a sloppy ladder match sounds more realistic than a acrobatic, nothing goes wrong ladder match. I don't want to defend these botches that bad, because a lot of them were just botches, and that's okay. But some of these botches are like Raquel not being able to deadlift the ladder with two bodies on it. Oh, what a fucking joke she is. Or Shotzi losing her balance with someone on her shoulders and falling backwards, and then both hitting ladders, and I think, I don't want to shit on the fans or anything, but I think if she doesn't drop Alexa in that spot, at least 15% of the online hate she gets doesn't come because, you know, Alexa has some of the worst fans in the world. But you know, that being said, as wrestling fans, we kind of suck. We do. We really kind of suck. Like, it's one of those situations where we, not that WWE is not at fault or not someone that deserves shit, but like we're so quick to give shit, and to the point where sometimes I feel like WWE is almost right to ignore us sometimes. You know, we're unpleasant. We're maybe not as bad as Star Wars fans or Rick and Morty fans, but like we're not too far off, you know? So I don't know. Like, yeah, like make a joke. That's fine. Like she could take the jokes. Clearly, she said she had no problem with that. But bro, to say someone has to get fired, it's like, unless that person was like Nia Jax, you know, you're kind of out of line. I don't know. That being said, fire Jeff Hardy, AEW. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Anyway, Chad, Rev, opinions, thoughts, concerns?
I will agree that I kind of enjoy the realism of ladder matches where there are not botches, but where not everything is so perfect and pristine. You know, because
that match should be crisp. It should not be crisp.
Yeah, it's a fucking ladder match. Like, people should be falling. I don't even care if they're planned falls. Like, people should be, you know, missing ladders and, you know, or in spots occasionally because they're ladders. They don't cooperate. Like, you know, when you're trying to climb and jump off of them or jump through them.
You sounded so much like a WWE announcer right there.
Thank you. You just want me to do the big announcer voice. But they don't, and that's the point. So when these things happen, I'm kind of okay with it. Now, granted, I think there's a line there where after a certain point, you're just having a really sloppy match, but it does add to the realism. And I will also agree that there are some seriously militaristic fan bases within wrestling. You mentioned Alexa. I know Sasha has some. I know all the Shield guys have them in a little bit of a different crazy way, but they have them. And when one wrestler does something to impact that fan base's favorite wrestler, they all attack, and it can get really ugly. And that's not something that's limited to wrestling, that you mentioned, but man, it's really bad out there sometimes, so, Chad. Oh,
wait,
go ahead,
I want to throw in real quick that, again, because I said, you know, who didn't care, the live crowd. Shotzi was over with the live crowd. She got some chance. There were people rooting for her. And, like, you know, pretty much everyone in the match was over. Literally the only person that wasn't over was Lacey Evans, who got booed every time she tried to climb the ladder. Keep in mind, she's a babyface right now. But anyway, I'm sorry, Chad. Yeah.
I agree with a lot of your point. There were some flubs, and not just by Shotzi at all. I would like to take a moment just to let Shotzi know when she hears this, because we're the top-rated podcast on YouTube. Duh.
She's gonna listen.
Absolutely. Shotzi, I'm talking directly to you. I would like for you to allow yourself some grace. These things happen. You had an off night. It happens to the best of us. Like the guy said, it's a ladder match. It's supposed to be clunky. You're supposed to bring real effect to it. We're supposed to see trip-ups and flubs and botches. Not too much, of course, but it is what it is. Allow yourself some grace. Also, the best life you are ever going to lead is offline. So I always champion when people step away from the internet, because the internet is a dark place unless you know how to use it correctly. With that being said, stop being bullies, people, unless it's for a good cause, if that makes sense.
Actually, I don't want to push back on anything you just said, but you guys just being a bunch of pushover snowflakes. Like, you know, Shotzi needs to man up and just stop fucking up moves, and then this problem won't happen. What are you gonna leave? You're gonna leave the internet because people were mean to you? Get out of here. Get in your fucking tank and run them over. I just 180'd on the joke I was making, but
Dan Lambert, everybody.
I'm gonna victim blame here, but at the same time, just run them over with your tank or beat them up, because all the people saying this to you, you can beat them up. At least 95% of them. So
I'm going 99.
Okay.
0.9. Shotzi, log out before SmackDown and just log back in afterwards. It's that simple. Don't let people get to you.
You're being real optimistic about her being on SmackDown, but
yeah, you gotta Jay and Silent Bob it, where they look up everybody who made fun of them online and they go over to their houses and just kick the shit out of them.
Well, log out while you're in catering.
No, Shotzi, just be better. Okay, you can look back throughout this whole show, every episode we've ever done. We've never messed up. We have not once stuttered over our words, tripped up, said something incorrect. We are always on point, 100%.
Never had to stop posting midway through the show because you kept fucking things up. No, it never happened.
It doesn't happen. We've never messed up. And all the people tweeting at you, they've never messed up either. So I know it feels rough and it feels harsh and it feels like they're being unfair to you, but these are people who don't mess up. They don't understand what it is to make a mistake because they're perfect. So you got to understand that we just see it as you not being perfect, and we don't understand why you can't be perfect, because it's so easy. You just don't mess anything up ever, and you don't have these problems, right? Does that make sense? I feel like I explained that pretty well, right? Even Shotzi should be able to get it. She shouldn't mess this up too, right? Like she's good to go now, right?
That was drier than a martini. The only other thing I would like to say is
never mess up.
Yeah, well, it is unfortunate though that because these people are such public figures, and their job sort of dictates it, they do need to be online to some extent. I don't know any wrestler that isn't, like, you know what I mean? Especially in WWE, there are very few who aren't online in some capacity, promoting their brand, or promoting WWE. So many people, indie wrestlers, have just made themselves more popular through Twitter, through Instagram, through Facebook, through YouTube. Like, there's part of this job, or that job rather, that you need to be online, and unfortunately, just your presence there can open you up to this abuse, and it should be unacceptable, but it's really difficult for that to be reined in, and it just absolutely fucking sucks.
If there's Wi-Fi, they're gonna talk. Period.
Exactly.
Whether you're good, bad, mid, if there's Wi-Fi available, someone's gonna say some shit. You gotta meditate, block that out, keep it going.
Or just don't worry. Elon is gonna fix Twitter, and we won't have these problems anymore.
Or do what Punk does and just turn off your replies, which seems to work the best.
Or go on a blocking spree. It's wonderful. It's beautiful.
I mean, and I think a lot of wrestlers do that. I think they use the block function probably a little bit too much, but it's very easy for somebody who gets blocked to just create another account and keep going. Last name bunch of numbers will always exist. So it's unfortunate, and I think we all wish there was something we could do to stop this, not just in terms of wrestling, but generally across the internet. But until we figure that out, I think it's something that people are unfortunately going to have to live with. And if your way of living with that is just not being online, I applaud you, because I'm certainly not deleting my Twitter anytime soon. I love that thing way too much. But I'm not a public figure, so.
Yeah, you are.
Touche. All right. So Chauncey, we wish you all the best. Let us move on to another former NXT product. Io Shirai has reportedly not signed her most recent contract, as she apparently wants to return to Japan to be closer to her family. Now, Chad, I'm going to go to you on this a little quickly here, because you are a resident NXT guy. from what I understand, Shotzi, Io hasn't been on NXT too much of late, and she's still a holdover from the Black and Gold brand. So this doesn't come as too much of a surprise to me.
If too much of late is the last 4 to 6 fucking months, I've been missing Io for that's half the reason why I'm not watching NXT now. I missed the shit out of Io. She was one of the few that I looked forward to seeing. Yeah, I think we all kind of saw this coming. She does want to spend more time in Japan. She hasn't been doing anything. She's been kind of on the shelf for the last few months. I love her, but I'm at the point where I'm not surprised by anybody leaving and or being fired or however that goes. So you got to get it where you can get it. Go ahead, Io.
Does it seem more like she's just waiting out her contract thing, or do they not have anything for her, or both?
Io Shirai is a performer where you never don't have something for her. She can do anything. She can talk a little bit. Like, she's great in ring. She's a former champion. She's looked up by everyone as like a great figure. So she's almost a more popular Asuka in NXT. So with that being said, there's never a dull moment with Io. So I really think her being off has something to do with her and not booking and management. I'm guessing she's looking for the time off to let the contract expire.
I mean, it could be a bit of both too. Because I can, with this new NXT, I like to call it NXT Colorful. With NXT 2.0, like, they haven't really used any of the Black and Gold brand people. Most of them have
except for her. Actually, she's been
expired.
She was utilized heavily in the beginning of the brand, like, repackaging.
Yeah, but they did their best to phase them out as quickly as possible. It felt like.
That too, yeah.
Because like I feel like the only people who are really around anymore, I think Roderick Strong is still under contract, and then I could name but like because Ciampa went up, I think Dunn went up. Some people ended up going over to NXT UK just because it's a little more like Black and Gold brand than the new one. So because I was gonna say I'm curious as to why they're not using her to help get some of this younger talent over, but I guess they just phased her out, which is unfortunate. Danny, I think you watch NXT about as much as I do, but I assume you remember the good days of Io Shirai. So, what are your thoughts about her reportedly leaving to go back to Japan?
I mean, I guess I'm pretty shocked. I just don't understand why she would want to leave NXT. Like, it's got such a literally bright future, and she could. You mentioned, or one of you guys mentioned Ciampa earlier. I mean, look at him now. He's the Miz's lackey. I mean,
is he really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ay, Dios mío.
It's bad.
Yeah, he hasn't won a match since he came up to the main roster. I think he's only had 2, but like
he won the match with him and Braun Breaker when they called him up for those 2 weeks. Other than that, nope. All else.
Yeah, but that wasn't heel Ciampa.
I am.
And that wasn't officially called up Ciampa. But yes, I just don't understand how is the grass greener on the other side for Io. Like, you're leaving Job into Toxic Attraction, who I think is actually pretty good, but still, like, you're leaving your home that's been so okay to you over these past years, like, just to go back home, to go back to family. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Who misses their family? Like, what the fuck? I just don't get it. What are you gonna do? Go wrestle in Stardom, have an amazing match with like Kairi Sane or something? I don't know. Like, reunite the Sky Pirates. You can go and team with Asuka and just be the Kabuki Warriors, and they won't mention that it's a different person. You see what I'm saying? Like, how is the grass greener on the other side? Like, what is? I don't get what she sees in possibly leaving this paradise that she's found herself in. You know?
Yeah, I don't get it either, man.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It is so hard playing off you sometimes. Like you said, I could see her if she wants to continue wrestling, going back to Stardom. That's where she was wrestling when she was over in Japan, which would be cool. Like seeing her team up with Kairi or go against Kairi would be awesome. I think that's something I would try to find online, even though I don't watch too much Japanese wrestling, especially Joshi wrestling. But that would be something I think I would try to find because that would be awesome. Now, depending on what happens with her contract, if she signs full time with Stardom or something, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe if she like popped in AEW for a minute, but I think that's a pipe dream. You know, I know that they do tend to have good relationships with the Joshi wrestlers and stuff over at AEW, but I don't know how if she knows any of those people or what. But it would be really cool to see her against some of those women, especially like I would love to see her like fight Sheeta. Like that would be awesome. That would be the cross. So. That's the crossover event that I want. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But you know, good on her. If she's done here and she's had enough of living in America and she wants to get back home, I get that. You know, when I left the Bronx, I moved upstate. I fucking hated it, and as soon as I could, I got back to the Bronx. So I can understand wanting to be home. So more power to her. Let's move on again to everyone's favorite wrestler. What's his name? AKA Cody Rhodes. This is now part 8, I think, of the Curious Case of Cody Rhodes, where Cody did an interview recently where he kind of made a bit of an ass of himself, in my opinion. Apparently, somebody asked him why he decided to come back to WWE, and he responded with, well, I'll give you somewhat of an arrogant answer. For 2-3 years, nobody's been able to touch me in the ring. Yeah, okay, bud. So, Chad, I'll go to you first. I mean, I don't know if this was in character. I don't know if it's not in character. Either way, this is a fairly arrogant thing to say. Now, he said on the front end it was going to be arrogant, but considering even the company he was in, the wrestlers there and the matches they were putting on for the last 2 years, and his, you know, bit of a sputter to the end of his AEW contract, I don't know what the fucking hell Cody is talking about.
On top of it being arrogant, Codeus, it is also untrue. Let's be honest. Again, I said it off camera. You weren't even the best in your division at the moment. Sorry. This was really, really, Danny said it earlier, and I want him to harp on more of what he was talking about. This was really just a macho WWE snide remark to shade AEW. And I think he was very in character, and I also think it was very unnecessary almost. I mean, you're in the same company as Kenny Omega, and no one can go with you in the last 2 years. If you would have said the first 2 years, then maybe you could have gotten an applause, or maybe somebody could have said, he's cocky enough to say that he helped start the company, blah, blah, blah. But the last 2 years where we made this segment, The Curious Case of Cody Rhodes, based on your storylines, it doesn't add up, bruh. I'm not feeling it. I didn't like that. I kind of don't think you should be in WWE right now either, but I'll leave that for another conversation.
Yeah, it is weird, right? Like, I agree with you. I think he had some of the best matches in the first couple of years at AEW. I don't think anybody could dispute that. You know, like a lot of them were really emotional. There's really good storytelling. The wrestling with Cody has always been, you know, solid at minimum, and he really stepped it up for a lot of those. So I was really enjoying what he was doing there. And then whatever happened with him in his storyline, especially after he lost the ability to go for the AEW World Championship, and then everything after that with the MJF stuff, he kind of just got stuck. And his TNT title reign was good, but then, you know, after that, especially after I think the Brody Lee match, like everything just kind of fell off a cliff. And the match work was still fine. It was still good, but just all the storylines and everything were just not there. Now, since I think he's gotten to WWE, he's gone back up, I think, towards the level where he was at the start of AEW. His feud with Seth was great. And obviously I think that was, the exclamation point on that was him doing Hell in the Cell with the torn bicep, which was just visually stunning. And the fact that he was able to do all that with that injury. But the top wrestler the last 2 to 3 years, bro, like that is just objectively wrong.
And also,
I'm at a loss for words. It's so wrong. I don't know what else to say.
Not to cut you off, one more thing, Jackie. For you to say that in the position that he's in now is not only a very heel tactic, what does it do for you in WWE? Like, what that might have been a force-fed line, because what does that do for Cody where he is now in WWE, who's supposed to be the face and the next big champion? And like, what does that do?
I mean, yeah, only because he's hurt. I think if he said that while he was healthy, maybe, yeah, okay. In storyline, it helps him, because then he could be, and because then Roman could be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they feud. But while he's hurt now, not doing anything, it's weird timing. It's weird to say. I also think it's a dick move just because you're kind of throwing all of your supposed friends from AEW under the bus.
Is it to remain relevant during his injury?
Possibly.
I'm sorry. I want to get to Danny.
I mean, it's possible, but I know he did have a falling out with, some of those elite guys, and for whatever reasons, and that's not any of our business, but still a dick move, man. You helped found that company on the backs of some of the best wrestlers on the planet, most of whom were better than you and still are. And now you're throwing them all under the bus, which it's just a dick move. So like Chad said, Danny, considering your last two performances in so far this episode, I am very curious to hear what you have to say about one Cody Rhodes.
What Kenny Omega match was more memorable than some of the matches Cody's put on in the past 2-3 years?
I did not want this to go here. Continue though.
Name one. No, wait. Name one.
You're serious? Versus Hangman.
Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson.
Kenny Omega versus
was better than any Cody Rhodes
match I've seen. Versus the first Moxley match when he won the title.
No, it doesn't compare to Cody Dustin. It doesn't compare to fucking Cody Darby 1, 2, or 3. The
Kenny
Omega
versus Christian.
Kenny versus Christian. I mean, you if it was this version of Christian,
for the Impact title,
because that's what this what Cody said was sounds like something Christian would say right now, but because it's not about in-ring work. Okay, Cody has the emotional storytelling. You know what? Kenny versus Hangman, the second, was not as good as Cody versus Seth at WrestleMania. Cody arguably had the best match of a WrestleMania weekend. It's arguably because it's either first or second best, depending on whether you're someone like Eric who hates women or not. But, to be fair, Eric actually agreed with me that match rocked. But, Cody's doing it. What is Kenny doing? He's at home hurt. What a baby. Oh my God, I have vertigo. I can't put on the 5-star matches anymore. Oh my God. Where are we at? Who's better at everything in terms of being a technical wrestler and storytelling than Cody Rhodes?
Seth Rollins.
In the past 30 years. It's storytelling? No. In ring, yeah, sure.
I will say this. Kenny Omega kind of backed you up the other day because he said that he thinks we should reassess how we rate matches, because 5-star matches should have a little more storytelling than just the big spots and the big moves that have been getting, 5-star ratings recently. So he's kind of backing you up a little bit, but I think there's got to be a little bit of a combination of the two, obviously. I just think
Cody is that combination.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem with Cody, at least for me in the last 2 years, has not been the in-ring stuff. It's been the storylines and the promos leading up to them. And I still consider that being a wrestling.
What are we...
In his defense, though,
I did forget he solved racism. I apologize.
In his defense, in hindsight, now looking, he knew he was leaving, so all of the confusion around the end of his run is cleared now. It's
especially because he wouldn't fucking tell anybody. Like, he claims he was undecided until the last moment, and I guess we kind of have to believe him. But
do we?
Either whether or not you believe him, he still didn't tell anybody in AEW whether or not he was going, and they were trying to book around all the uncertainty that was Cody Rhodes.
Well, he's made it clear that he doesn't like them, so why would he tell them? why would he tell them anything? He does not like anyone that he started that company with.
So, joking aside, but not really. In terms of that, I'm not going to stop joking more so than that I was joking. But
I genuinely have no idea if you were serious there or not, like everything you just said.
I would like for my opinions to not be known, so that's good. But
as you do a podcast.
Yeah.
I hate this guy.
I get that a lot, but that being said, you guys are just being worked, okay? This is all... Cody's just trying to get good heat, so when he comes back to AEW in 3 years, he gets that really good heat, If you really wanted to be mad about what he said and pick it apart, you could just say that his logic falls apart, that he left AEW because he was untouched in the ring for the past 2 to 3 years. Because if that was the case, how is that going to change in WWE? You already faced the best guy they have, I think, left. I don't think anyone in WWE is better in ring than Seth Rollins, in all seriousness. Like, who's better than Seth Rollins in WWE?
One could debate AJ Styles.
Yeah, okay, there you go. The two guys. I got
nothing after that.
I mean,
I don't even think Finn is as close to them, honestly. I think Finn is like, if they're S tier, Finn is like top of A tier. Like, he's right there, but he's not like, I would never say he's better than AJ or better than Seth, where you can debate AJ and Seth.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's right below them. I also, just strictly in the ring, I think Mustafa Ali's really, really, really fucking good as well.
That's true, but
everything, the rest of it, But in terms if you just throw him in a match with Cody and tell me to watch that, I would watch the fuck out of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, a real American Patriot versus fucking Homelander. Yeah, I'd watch that.
Homelander.
Kidding me? I mean, that's that's where his statement doesn't make sense, because he's leaving, and even if you don't think Kenny Omega is the best wrestler, which is fine, because I think Bryan Danielson's better than him, but who's in AEW? Bryan Danielson. Hey, now Claudio Castagnoli's there. You didn't know that at the time, though, so I won't give you that. But, CM Punk's there, and yeah, CM Punk's not the best technical wrestler in the world, but who gets people to give a shit about his matches constantly all the time? It's CM Punk. You have the Young Bucks are two of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, Nick has insane singles matches.
FTR Bald's been having insane single matches too.
FTR Bald, nice.
But shout out Danhausen.
Dax has been, bro. Fucking, you guys should have brought up Dax when I was joking earlier about who could touch Cody. I'd be like, you know what, you got me.
I mean, along with the Adam Coles and the Swerves and the Keith Lees, there's so much more talented guys around now that he left.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it, at the end of the day, with Cody, it's always going to be, he has that vendetta. He has that chip on his shoulder. He has that fire inside where, you know, he is still blinded by the glitz and the glam and the lights and everything in WWE. And
The
whereas
smoke
everyone
and
else,
mirrors. Huh?
I don't get it. I don't understand. Please explain it.
No, what he's blinded by is that WWE championship that he's never held, and that his father never held. That's what he's blinded by.
Yeah. Well, he'll probably just end up the Universal Champion. So, like, it doesn't really fill the hole. But that's.
I have such a scumbag scenario that I want to happen. I'll explain after. Continue.
No, sure, go for it. What is it?
I'm such a dick. I very desperately would like for Cody to come back and win said champion and get cashed in on immediately after by Austin Theory.
Oh, the Rey Mysterio proposition.
I think that's very, very likely.
I would love for that to happen immediately.
Theory is not going to beat Roman. He's not going to beat Brock. Cody might. Whoever beats Roman, Theory has to cash in on. Like,
I feel like they're pushing Theory versus Lesnar after the Elimination Chamber. So I kind of see
where he ran away from him, like crying, and
then I think they're like doing Theory revenge kind of thing.
And his finisher on Lesnar,
he wouldn't have to if he just finished fighting the almighty Roman Reigns.
Why would Lesnar?
It's a last man standing.
Lesnar's not going to win. Lesnar's a jobber now. He's not a guy to win. He's not a winner anymore. He's a loser. He's going to lose.
But he'll absolutely be a title holder if need be.
They don't need be anymore because the Roman has the title and is never going to lose it, apparently. Like, Cody has a better chance of winning the title right now than Brock. Like,
yeah, I agree with that. Well,
Well, I totally agree. I was just
Cody's
saying,
healthy.
which I hope is in like 2 months.
expected him to walk out of Money in the Bank, torn pec and all, and still try to climb the ladder. You know, maybe it would have been a better ending than Theory winning, but you know, that's a whole nother thing that we talked about on our Money in the Bank review that's totally exists and is real and happened.
I also just want to say, I feel like we've been shitting on Cody a lot here. And it's more, at least for me, it's more of the comment of no one's been able to touch me in the ring. Where I think Cody, and I hope I've said this, Cody has been good. You know, he's been, good to great ever since, I feel like ever since he's joined New Japan and joined Bullet Club. Like, he was on a tear on the indies. His early AEW stuff was great. And then, yeah, he hit a really weird lull because of the contract stuff and just the TNT title going back and forth and that stupid stipulation. You couldn't win the AEW championship. Like, it was just a bunch of weird booking decisions from him that ended up, screwing him up, in terms of building stories and feuds and everything. Again, the in-ring stuff was still pretty good. That Sammy Guevara match, the ladder match for the TNT championship, was really good. He got lit on fire during that Andrade match. That was awesome. And then, like I said earlier, everything he's done, at least on pay-per-view with Seth, since he's come back to WWE, was good. It's just, I think him saying he's been the best wrestler of the last 3 years is asinine. There's far too many people on that list ahead of him.
Okay. Viewers, I'm gonna let you in on something. I'm just a fucking hater. End of the day, like, it is what it is. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. You're supposed to feel like no one can touch you. You're supposed to think you're the best wrestler of all time, even when you're not. Or if you're somewhat, Cody definitely has the stripes to say, I think I'm the best thing that ever came through AEW. End of the day, I'm still just butthurt that he left. And I don't want him to prosper the way he's been prospering. And I'm a hater. I'm a fucking crab in a barrel. And whatever else you guys want me to be, I said what I said, and I was right when I said it. Boom.
Hate.
Yeah, mic drop. Cody has a right to feel that way. He's a great performer. everyone wants to be Michael Jordan, so they say they are until they are. I get it.
Yeah,
But-
no, top guys do have to have that mindset. Like I've seen people in the NBA who are clearly not top dudes being like, "Oh yeah, like I'm one of the best players on, I'm the best player on this team." But if you don't think that, you're not going to get anywhere, even if you're just the guy who sits in the corner and hit threes. But
And his father is Dusty Rhodes, one of the better superstars that never actually had the belt. So I totally get it. He has to.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think there's a way to go about this without making yourself sound like an ass.
But if you're injured,
especially if
and
you
have nothing but time to let people wallow about who's actually better than you, so that when you come back, you have a storyline as soon as you hit the door.
Yeah,
and why not troll it a little bit? I get it. I just don't like Cody, but I like Cody. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I think that's everything we have on that. So I think the only last thing I want to say for the pod is I'm just really upset that the guy behind Buff Bagwell's Twitter wasn't Buff Bagwell. I was really disappointed with that. It was a lot of fun watching this guy have a great resurgence on Twitter. And then it just comes out that it's just some random guy giving his own opinions, and Buff is still who everybody kind of figured he was, which is an old white dude.
I'm actually new to to Buff Bagwell Gate, so I didn't know, but I think it's funny that everybody thought it was him and it wasn't. That's always going to be hilarious.
I forget who it was, but they were like, "Oh no, I can't." I think it might have been Oni Larkin. It was like, "Oh no, I can't believe I got worked on Twitter." It was really good. Danny, did you have something on Wardlow? Wasn't there something we had to talk about with Wardlow?
Yes. It's funny. Wardlow was doing an interview not too long ago, and he said that when he first got into AEW, he really wanted to be the next Jeff Hardy. So expect a mugshot coming soon.
Oh God. I was just going to ask if we were talking Victory Road Jeff or SummerSlam 2000 Jeff.
I
Sorry,
guess that's
James.
for Wardlow to decide, but
well, I guess after what Christian said on Wednesday, it's fair. Jeff is fair game, huh? Oh God! All right, you know what? I'm ending this because we're not going to do any better than that. So thank you everybody so much for watching this week. Be sure to like and subscribe. We are nearing 100 subscribers. And when we do that, James will wrap and dye his hair green. And I need that to happen, people. So like, subscribe, tell your friends to do the same, and make me a very, very happy person. Also, be sure to check out all of our social media stuff, even though we spent the first 20 minutes of this podcast ranting against it. It'll be in the description below, so you can check us out: Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, I think we have a TikTok, but we never use it. So when that starts getting used, we'll put the links in there for that. So yeah, I think that's it. So for Chad Big Bad Johnson and Danny Hernandez, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching. And in the big annoying announcer voice, we will see you next time here on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good night, everybody.